Veridian, The Green Guide. By Clouds. My Head in the Clouds Not Coming Down. Read by Oakshadow 5. Chapter 95. Transformation. Summary. Viridian and Eraserhead have a little chat about an old friend. "Are you sure you're okay to be out here tonight?" Tensei had always been too caring for his own good, but a lot of the time Shota just wished he'd just let things go. "You did just survive a major villain attack, 3 days ago? And I know that Mike took a couple personal days because of everything, so don't you dare try to tell me it's illogical to take some time off." "I'm fine," he grumbled. "My injuries were mostly superficial, and recovery already gave me the all-clear." Tensei gave him a look. "That's not what I meant, and you know it. Not all scars are physical, Shota, you know that." Instinctively, Shota reached up and ran his thumb along the new scar on his face. Considering the way Shigaraki's hand had touched him, it was honestly only sheer luck that the disintegration hadn't reached the eye itself. With a 5-point contact quirk, Shota had expected the fingerprints to be much more distinct, but the cracks in the skin had branched outward and connected them into an almost semicircle shape, where the skin and part of the muscle had flaked away before it managed to activate his quirk and stop the damage. It was definitely ugly and impossible to hide, but Shota had never cared much about aesthetics anyway. Plus, his scar was nothing in comparison to the changes that Kurogiri had gone through. "I'm fine," Shota repeated. Maybe if he said it enough, he'd be able to convince himself too. "It's illogical to worry about that until we have confirmation that it actually was him at the attack." Tensei rolled his eyes. "I don't know if you just haven't been paying attention, Sho, but humans aren't exactly logical, and you had the description your witness gave of what Kurogiri looked like before the experiments. It's him. You know it is." "It's a strong possibility," Shota admitted. "But why would the villain factory keep him captive for so long? It's been 10 years, Tensei. It just doesn't make any sense." "Maybe his quirk was just too good to pass up," Tensei shrugged. "But he's alive. That's better than we ever expected, right? We probably even have a chance to get our friend back." "Don't hold your breath," Shota interrupted. "You weren't at the USJ. You didn't see him attacking the students. Even if he is Shirakumo on some level, he's firmly on the side of the villains." "I guess you're right," Tensei groaned. "I just really wanted our friend back, you know. It'd be so cool. But I guess life's more complicated than that." "Isn't it always?" Shota was tired. He really wanted a nap, but he knew he'd never be able to sleep with everything that was going through his brain. What he needed right now was to get his mind off of everything, and if he was able to check up on a troublesome Vigilante while he was at it, all the better. "Have you seen Viridian since the attack?" Tensei asked for a moment. "Does he even know the details of the attack yet, or are we just letting him get whatever's on the news for now?" "Officially, no one's talked to him," Shota scowled. "Unofficially, he probably knows just as much as we do at this point, if not more. I found out yesterday that Karchin has been meeting him behind my back." Tensei looked like he was trying not to laugh. "Well, you gotta give the kid points for taking initiative." Shota shot him an exhausted glare. "He knows what Viridian's quirk is." "Wait, really?" Tensei's eyes widened. "Why haven't you brought the kid in yet? Is his quirk not on the registry or something?" "I said that Karchin knew Viridian's quirk, not that he had told me." Shota shook his head in frustration. "He absolutely refused to give me anything except that it's apparently weak. That's all I've got." "I mean, you could always threaten to expel him," Tensei suggested. "That might get him to talk." Shota raised an eyebrow. "Do you really think Karchin is the type to respond well to fear tactics?" That made Tensei laugh. "Yeah, the kid would probably just double down, wouldn't he?" "It's all just so logical," Shota huffed. "Karchin won't say anything because he feels like he owes Veridian his life, but at the same time, you know that the problem child is probably blaming himself for not being there to stop the USJ attack, and might even be suicidal again, which I could get him help for if I knew who he was, which I don't because Karchin won't say anything." "Oof," Tensei hissed. "That's infuriating." Shota scoffed. "That's an understatement." Their comms crackled to life, and Rocklock's voice came over the line. "Hey, Eraser, you there?" "Yeah." Shota rubbed his eyes, grateful for the distraction. "What do you want?" "I just saw your kid running north," Rocklock said. "I think he's looking for you." Shota stretched.
Thanks for the heads up. I'll go check it out and see how he's doing.
Good luck, Rockluck said. The line went dead and Tensei laughed. Seriously, you're gonna need all the luck you can get though. Kid's getting pretty good.
Exactly why you should be a hero, not a vigilante. Shota sighed. Hopefully I'll be able to talk some sense into him this time.
Yeah, we both know that's probably not going to happen, Tensei chuckled. But good luck dadding your son into submission. Shota turned to glare at him, but he was already gone, so he just sighed and ran to find Veridian. At least the kid was alive, which meant that he was doing well enough to not do anything drastic, but still, therapy would be a massive improvement. Viridian found him first. Eraserhead, wait up. Shota stopped as the kid ran up to him.
Problem, child?
I'm really sorry I wasn't there to help you students, Eraser. The kid's eyes were screwed up with tears, and both of his hands were fisted into balls at his sides. I should have figured out that the villains were attacking and helped stop them. I'm really, really sorry.
It's not your fault, kid.
Shota gave a frustrated sigh.
Even with forewarning of the attack, we still weren't able to prevent it. Don't beat yourself up for villains being villains.
But... Veridian hunched in on himself for a moment before getting a determined look in his eyes and straightening up. I'll make up for it, I promise.
Kid,
Shota groaned.
You don't have to. Is that another packet? You spent the last few days digging into things you weren't supposed to, didn't you?
Maybe? Veridian flashed a guilty smile. But it'll help, won't it? Shota glared at him.
That remains to be seen. I'd really rather you did things like this with proper supervision. You know, like the kind you'd get in the Vigilante rehabilitation program.
As expected, Veridian shook his head. I'm not the kind of person you want in that program, Eraserhead. Save the spots for the people who deserve them.
Look in the mirror, problem child.
Shota deadpanned. Veridian smiled sadly. I'm not who you think I am, Eraserhead. I'm not some powerful vigilante who can swoop in and save the day. I just do what I can, and even that's not enough most of the time. If I wasn't such a failure, the villains wouldn't even have been able to get into the school.
US security is not your responsibility, problem child.
Shota groaned.
We just weren't prepared for a warp quirk.
Which wouldn't even have existed if I was actually a good vigilante. Veridian shoved the packet into his hands. Most of those quirks, most of those people, were ones I fought. Maybe if I'd caught them sooner before they could show off their quirks, or if I'd known they were targets. Shota gave him a skeptical look and started flipping through the research he'd compiled.
Walk me through this, kid. Tell me what I'm looking at.
Well, I looked through a lot of missing persons, specifically ones that had been instant villains or had run-ins with the villain factory at Trigger in the past. Veridian started, his voice becoming more confident as he slipped into his comfort zone. I found two main ones that could reasonably combine to create something like what you guys saw from Kurogi at the USJ. Do you remember when I was working virtually?
You mean that time you broke your arm and kept doing vigilante work anyway?
Shota asked sternly.
Yeah, it rings a bell.
Veridian winced. Yeah, that time. Well, there was this teleporting villain, right? His quirk, Blink, was vision-based, just like yours.
Yeah, he could teleport to anywhere he could see. Shota nodded. But the villain factory didn't have eyes and said UA.
But if they combined it with the red quirk, they wouldn't need to, Izuku said. There was the bartender that went missing from Amplifier's patrol area, whose quirk let him see anywhere, just so long as he knew the exact location. If it was combined with Blink, then remote vision would theoretically allow the user to teleport anywhere if they knew the exact location. Shota looked at the sources the kid had compiled about the two quirks he'd mentioned. It checked out, even if it didn't explain why Shirakumo was needed. If he was needed. The kid had even included a lot of complicated quirk theory that Shota couldn't really make heads or tails out of, but knew that Neza would have a field day over.
This is impressive, kid. But you do realize that would only allow him to warp himself, right?
That's where it starts getting a little more complicated, Veridian grimaced. I read a lot about teleportation quirks, and I think I know what happened, but, I'm missing a quirk.
Alright, that's fine.
Shota couldn't help slipping into his teacher mindset as he nodded patiently.
Tell me what you have so far.
Veridian frowned. I'm like 98% sure that they used a quirk called Dark Figuration. When I fought the original holder, he could completely blend into the darkness. I thought it was some sort of darkness-based invisibility, but when I read his file, it said he was actually becoming the darkness, if that makes sense.
About as much sense as quirks normally do, Shota said. But the warp gates themselves looked fairly dark. What else?
Well, that's where I'm kinda stuck. Viridian huffed in frustration. I mean, Kachan said... He stopped suddenly with a squeak and stared at Shota with wide eyes, looking almost terrified, and Shota rolled his eyes.
I already know you talked to Kachan, problem child.
Is he gonna get in trouble for telling me? Viridian asked softly. He worked really hard to keep everyone safe, so it would be really unfair to punish him for... Shota rubbed the bridge of his nose.
He's an informant, problem child. I'm not going to punish him for doing his job. And shouldn't you be worried more about yourself, Vigilante? If anyone is going to get in trouble, it's going to be you.
Oh, I'm used to that, Veridian said quickly. But I needed to make sure, because Kachan said you're not like other teachers, so you might actually... Anyway, he said that the warp gates were kinda like mists? Shota had trouble following that last sentence, especially when Veridian seemed to be trying to censor himself halfway through.
Yeah, they were kinda like mists. But what was that you said about me being a teacher?
Viridian's eyes widened again. What? Well, it's just that, it's really not important.
Oh, really?
Shota gave a wild grin.
Then why are you trying to hide it?
Viridian froze like a deer in the headlights, and Shota wanted to cheer. He wasn't quite sure what he'd stumbled across, but it had to be a pretty big clue if the kid was this freaked out. A part of him felt guilty for making the kid so scared, but the other part was screaming for karma from all the heart attacks Veridian had given him. And if this could lead him to the kid's identity... Veridian laughed nervously. You work in education, Eraserhead. You know how hard it is to find good teachers that actually care about the kids and stuff. It's just that I didn't want you to think that I hated all teachers or something like that. That's it. Shota narrowed his eyes and stared at the kid as some things fell into place.
Wait, Veridian. Have you been abused by teachers in the past?
Abused? Veridian waved his hands frantically in front of him. No, nothing like that. They weren't trying to make me feel bad or anything, I don't think. It's just that the other students had a lot more potential, so they were just doing what they thought was right. I don't blame them or anything, and it wasn't abuse. I'm a vigilante, Eraser. I can take care of myself. Shota felt sick.
Your teachers ignored your bullies, didn't they?
No. Veridian looked almost sad. They paid a lot of attention to them, actually. It's okay, Eraser. I'm fine.
Somehow I don't think we're talking about the same thing,
Shota said.
Teachers should pay attention to all the students, problem child. If your teachers are ignoring you, then...
They're not, Veridian said firmly. I don't have those teachers anymore anyway, so it's a non-issue.
No, it's not,
Shota said incredulously.
If your teachers contributed to you being suicidal...
I'm not suicidal anymore, Eraser, Veridian cut him off. Like I said, it isn't a big deal. And we're getting distracted. The warp villain basically expanded parts of his body to create the gates, right?
You can't just change the subject, Veridian,
Shota challenged. Veridian grinned, determination in his eyes as he met the challenge. Watch me. Shota tried to argue again, but Veridian just steamrolled over him and refused to let him get a word in. Damn problem child. Anyway, so the warp villain, Veridian stuttered. So Dark Figuration would have just made his body into darkness, not helped him teleport groups, but from what Kachan told me, Kuma had some kind of mist quirk too, so I did some research. There's still a lot we don't know about quirk transfer, obviously, and quirk combinations especially, because, yeah, but I looked into it and there's a chance that Dark Figuration changed in reaction to Kuma's quirk. Shota groaned in defeat.
I thought that was the whole point. Quirks being transferred and changing in reaction to the new holder to become more powerful.
Veridian nodded eagerly. Yeah. So, anyway, Kuma's quirk was mists or clouds or something like that, right? So then, what if when Dark Figuration was added, it became Cloud Figuration? So instead of transforming into darkness, the holder would be able to transform into mist? And then, since the teleporting quirks affect the holder's body...
Then the mist-like portions of the body would be able to teleport in the same way,
Shota said. He couldn't really deny it anymore, could he? He could completely imagine Shirokuma using his clouds as a part of his body, and with the quirks the kid had found, all the puzzle pieces fit together, even if he didn't want to.
How did he even find all this, kid? It seems like you've got it all figured out.
Not quite. Veridian had a frustrated pout on his face. I'm missing Kuma's original quirk. I searched the missing persons list 3 times and couldn't find it anywhere.
Because he's not registered as missing.
Shota sighed. Viridian blinked. What? Shota took a deep breath.
Kumo, as Ogawa knew him, was never registered as missing.
Why not? Veridian tilted his head in confusion. Do you think he didn't have any family? Someone must have noticed he was gone.
Oh, they noticed?
Shota muttered darkly.
Sorry, it's just... Do you remember when I told you about a friend of mine dying in the line of duty?
Veridian nodded in concern. Yeah, you said that, just like me, you threw yourself into fighting to cope after he died.
Yeah, well...
Shota's mouth was dry, but he pushed through it, forcing himself to admit it out loud.
Apparently, he wasn't as dead as he thought.
Viridian's eyes got comically wide, and Shota couldn't do anything except laugh, even though it was the last thing he felt like doing at the moment.
Yep, you couldn't find him on the missing persons list because Oba Kumo was reported as dead on arrival over 10 years ago. But, hey, immortal supervillains can just get away with anything, right? They've got power and connections, so it doesn't matter whose lives they ruin if they get to play that at the games. He knew he was losing his head, but as illogical as it was, he didn't want to stop. He shouldn't be this vulnerable in front of a kid. He should be doing this with literally anyone else. Tensei, Mike, Midnight, even Nezu would probably be a willing shoulder to cry on. But for some reason, no, Shota was breaking down in front of a kid. As he was almost bowled over by Viridian's hug, he couldn't help but wonder if that was because the kid already knew what it was like to be broken. I'm so sorry. Even though Shota's eyes were just as chronically dry as ever, Veridian was crying enough for both of them as he squeezed tightly. You lost your friend, and now he's different and you don't know. You wanted to save him and... I'm sorry. Shota patted the kid's head for a moment, letting himself sink into the kid's attempts at comfort. He felt tired. He felt tired and angry and sad and so many other things at the moment. But if this dumb, reckless teenager could fight his way through months of depression and self-hatred, then maybe Shota could fight his way through this whole mess. Does anyone know? Viridian sniffed and pulled away. I know you said Presmite was his friend too. They know,
Shota said.
We're all processing.
You guys shouldn't be alone right now, Viridian said stubbornly, tears already drying on his cheeks. You should go to them.
I am literally in the middle of patrol right now, problem child.
Shota deadpanned. Instead of giving in to his logic, however, the kid just pouted. If you don't call them, I will. I'll go find a way to hack into the comms right now and send them running to help you. Shota rolled his eyes.
This isn't a villain attack, kid.
No. In a flash, Veridian was across the roof. But it's still a chance to help people. Say hey to Mike and Midnight when they get here, Reza. Shota's jaw dropped as he watched the kid disappear between two buildings. Had that kid just... He shook his head and started running. He didn't want to have to deal with Mike's yelling if Veridian reached him first. Wow, this was a really long chapter after the last one that was only like 10 minutes long. This was a great chapter. Like, the first bit with Tensei and Shota just talking, and then Veridian and Shota talking. Yeah, it was a really good chapter. But anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed chapter 95 of Veridian the Green Guide, and I see you all next time. Bye!